morning to you. Welcome to VOP this morning. I'm Moses Humphrey. Well, the federal government is to disburse 5 billion naira in palliative funds for each state for subsidy removal. Plus, the DSS has warned that terrorists are planning to attack the Abuja Kaduna train route once again. In the meantime, you may like to click the like button and subscribe to our page on YouTube. We are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. As usual on the show, we'll start off with looking at the front pages of some newspapers. And I have with me in the studio VOP in-house analyst Cyril Abaku. Good morning to you, Cyril.
Good morning.
All right, so let's dive into it very quickly too. Going into the papers, looking at the headlines. From the Punch newspaper, we have Labour folds 180 billion naira palliatives, says governors will frustrate program. There's no trust there, and one would not wonder where that distrust is coming from. It has sub-riders: states to get 180 trucks of rice. NLC, TUC worry politicians will hoard materials. NEC committee to meet Labour over subsidy relief. Tinubu appeals to Nigerians. All right. Now, when you go on top of the nameplates there, we have banditry, North Central, Northwest, plunge into 902 billion naira debt. Poor revenue persists. Low IGR linked to insecurity. 60% of affected states lack FDIs. FG begins ministers designate documentation Saturday. All right. And then we have Emefiele, DSS drops firearms charge. 6.9 billion naira fraud case adjourned. Military mourns 25 soldiers killed in Niger, hunts bandits. Family faults release of Lagos chief's suspected killer. Rains disrupting Lagos-Ibadan Expressway construction. FG. Cyril.
Yeah, well, so I think somehow the surprise element is waning, is dying. It's dying off of me because I'm wondering, the federal government is announcing that it wants to disburse 180,000 or 8,000 to the states. Each state is going to get as much as 5 billion naira. Beg your pardon, 5 billion naira. What are the accountability mechanisms? If even Labour is saying they don't trust the process, I thought that this sort of thing should have been a project anchored by the government with support from CSOs, relevant NGOs, the labor unions, road transport, so that people, it can be representative, even religious organizations like the Catholic Church, for example, that has a strong track record of philanthropic endeavors, But this just seems like federal government is, I'm a bit, if even the PDP at its worst didn't behave this way. I wonder how government just wakes up and says, this was the same government that came and abandoned the President Buhari's so-called social register. Because, of course, I personally believe that register was purely a conduit for financial malfeasance and misappropriation. Now you come on board, why is there no consultation? Why do we just look up and hear that federal government has said they're going to give 12 million families social amount of money over social period of time? The next thing we have, the federal government has said they're going to, you need to see the people and have conversations. Look, I don't know if you recall, I said it here that the way the president was going about the subsidy matter, it was going to come back to hunting. It has come back to hunting. Because we had an exclusive report from the cable said that the government was considering temporary subsidy. They've not refuted that story. They have not come out to say it's not true. They've not come out to say that, which means
what they said was subsidy was not coming back.
Was not coming back, but now they said temporary. In fact, if you listen to the president's speech on August 1 very carefully, it was suggestive that government may intervene, and now they have. Okonjo, when I came to see the president the other day, the difference between the APC and Buhari and Tinubu and the PDP was this. Look, Somehow, the PDP had a place for experts. There was corruption, we know, but you could feel a sense of people who knew what to do and make sure that whatever they did didn't immediately, the impact wasn't so immediately so severe on the people. Okonjo-Iweala is a world-class economic manager. When Jonathan came, he saw that he needed to bring about. I told you about Professor Akpanekpo, that there has been an economic management committee since Abacha years. Every government comes to use him. Every government that comes in picks him back and says, "Oga, come back, committee member." But keep on telling, because data, experience, you don't run an economy. In Saudi Arabia, they had a minister of petroleum that was there for almost 50 years. One man as petroleum minister for almost 50 years.
Because he was doing something right.
He was doing something right. And look, some systems don't need any reinvention. You need to just keep, because you see, the way you can just change the sort of food you eat, or change the sort of, there are some things you do that if any liability arose, it was personal to you. But you see, if the president's stomach crumbles now, it can affect how the stock market performs this morning or this afternoon. So when everything and anything government does can all immediately result in fatalities, result in morbidities, result in all kinds of things, job losses. How can we 5 billion naira? Yesterday when I saw this, I said this money, and what NLC people said is the same thing I said. What is the guarantee that the money or even the food stuff that you're going to disburse is going to get to the person that requires it? When did we become a country where government will be distributing money? This is the kind of thing that we used to say when we were children in the village, that if how many people in Nigeria today, 200 and something million, we are not even up to 1 billion, and this 5 billion naira, if you gave each one Nigeria 1 million, all of us will become millionaires. That we used to think those things when we were children. Buhari came and said that they were going to disperse Abacha's loot to people, and you're like, excuse me, where did you learn this in economics? Because it has never worked. All right, Moses. The places in Eastern Europe and Western Europe where this sort of things happen, maybe immediately after World War II and things like that. When these things happen, they have reasons for happening. It's not, how can a nation that whose hands and feet are in order, you're not impaired, you're not disabled, the nation is on its feet, and yet you can't fend for yourself? The only thing you can say is, let me tell you, one of the things, if President Tinubu does it, even that will come back to haunt him, mark me, is that he will soon realize that he must go after the people who took subsidy money without doing anything about it. You see, this thing will become nauseating. Let me tell you something. They say subsidy money, temporary subsidy or not. Subsidy is not for it's for political settlement. You cannot tell, even if today you want to give subsidy now to save you, won't you look for people who have the structure, have the capacity, have the integrity, have the record that they can deliver this thing? Nupeng. I don't know the marketers and whether it's Ipman or Moma. Is there people that you can look for? Those are the same people who have been taking subsidy money in the past, and some of them will come and tell you, we are entitled to this thing. Be you president or governor. There are, Moses, what I mean, there are people you will settle whether they are going to lift oil or not. It doesn't matter who you are. Be you the president, or they will tell you that. So if you now say we are going to, the temporary subsidy, I mean assuming without conceding, the temporary subsidy will cost us 20 billion naira per month. It automatically, maybe 15 or 10% of that money is not for lifting any oil. Well, how did they empower those? How did Nigeria empower those people who say they have they have oil vessel that has been in they are normally in Ondo and all these places for 16 years. You must be whining me. So Nigeria sponsors the corruption that is killing her. Perhaps sponsors even the terrorism that is killing her. Nobody should.
It's a very it's a passionate
subject.
Yes, but let's step away from it for a while, because we'll come back to it later. Now let's look at the rains disrupting the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway construction. That's what the federal government is claiming. What do you make of that statement?
No.
That road has been, it's been under construction for the longest time.
You know, Professor Shoyinka wrote a poem. He said, the road famished. You know, like when you're famished. So Ben Okri turned it into the famished road and made it into a novel that won the Booker Prize in 1991 in the UK. There was a day an older friend of mine was about to go into the studio to do a political program like this, and he said, Cyril, I want to talk about Lagos by the expressway. I said, that's Nigeria's famished road. The road is so hungry, it never ceases to take money in. It is always famished. That is why, and please, today it is the rain. I have no problem with it. It's a legitimate. Tomorrow it will be the sun. And another day the constructor came back with a revised budget. Another day to be inflation. And they've never factored in inflation, Abi, into the current cost. It will come later. That will come later. It will be another time they say that they are now looking to expand the lanes. Another time there are a number of the east-west road is one. Then Lagos by the expressway. And let me be very clear. When Abacha gave Buhari money to build roads in the north in the name of PTF, Buhari built those roads in spite of corruption, in spite of humongous, unconscionable corruption. Those roads were built. So that's why people will tell you from Abuja you can drive all the way. Just the roads in the north are next to none. Is oil money. Our brothers and uncles in the south here, who wouldn't borrow a cent from what their counterparts up north have done, have made us slaves of both the east-west road and look at the expressway. Who are we to blame? Year in, year out, minister come, minister go. I've told you that you need to go and look for Moses' rod if you want to be president of this country, and the fire of Elijah. I'm not kidding, Moses. Oh. That's what you need to be president of this country, so that when you point at something and say, let it be done, anybody who stands in your way will have himself to blame. If you can do that, fine. If anybody short of that cannot change this country.
Okay, that's rather harsh because Nigerians are expecting a renewed hope as it stands right now. So
I celebrate your confidence even if I don't envy it.
it's unfortunate. Oh well. Let's move on. Let's move away from that to another paper now. To the Daily Trust. The paper has its banner headline as Niger, AU opposes military action as ECOWAS readies forces, moves suspension, protests in Ghana, recruitment drive of volunteer fighters in Niamey. So it's brewing. When you go further, I know this is what you want. You're one of the very few people that is insisting on a stalemate.
Yes, and that the junta must go.
Well, yes, we all want them to go.
The only concession we can give, I mean, speaking for myself anyway, is if this junta will allow ECOWAS organize. No, but there's even no need for fresh elections. The president is alive. They have to restore him. They have to restore him. They have to restore Bazoum. Except Bazoum resigns and walks away on the conditions that ECOWAS troops will walk into Niger, not for conflict or combat. They walk into Niger, they will be there, and that in 3 months, that is if Bazoum resigns in 3 months, there must be fresh elections to be organized by ECOWAS itself, with representation from the UN, okay, and the EU and other partners will be there to organize fresh elections for the country. So if
wouldn't that still result in influence from foreign powers?
They were the ones they brought it upon themselves. No army has the right. If it happens in America, if any of the big names at the Pentagon has an issue with the Oval Office, you give the president your advice, you resign and walk away. I thought that's what you were supposed to do. How do you topple your commander in chief? Have you ever had it in the army that, except you call him mutiny, that a captain told his brigadier general that he has removed him from his rank? You'll be decapitated straight up. How does that happen? So, your country is democracy. No army has no business being in government. Why did you put a Jeku in the first place? You have no legitimacy. So to attempt to legitimize what is illegitimate is even if you cannot legitimize it. until they can tell us, except like I told you in Egypt, where the law, they wrote it into law, since they wrote it into law, that the Egyptian army has the responsibility to protect democracy. Even, when the proposal came out, I call people, I said, imagine what they are saying, and people I was even didn't understand what the thing was. But I'm glad you did the first I told you. But here I was said that the army has a right to protect democracy. What does that even mean? If you can give us that, if that was in the law, it's fine. But for as long as that's not in the law, it is not acceptable.
All right. Let's look at some other headlines. Palliatives, FG approves 180 billion naira for states. Military says 3 officers, 22 soldiers killed by terrorists in Niger. Nigeria complex but not too difficult to manage. Tinubu. And when we go further down, we have Abuja housewife bursts into tears as barrow pusher escapes with her foodstuff. Jega to lead. I had to allow that one sink in.
Yeah,
you know how it is. You go to the market to buy things, and then you call these people,
cart pushers.
Yes, to help you push it to a place where you now convey it to your destination. Imagine.
No, but why would he walk away with her foodstuff?
Hunger in the land. Maybe to resell, or maybe to eat and share amongst his friends. It's hunger in the land, apparently.
These are very rare things. But unfortunately, the 5 billion may not trickle down to them. It's a pity.
It's interesting that you said that. It may not actually trickle down.
It may never trickle down to them. So we will now go and stand on the road because government is bringing trucks of rice and beans with our small rubber. Is it Kobiowu or what do they call? Okay, there's Kobiowu, there's paint rubber, there's sackless bucket. You go and stand and say, please give me what an indignity. What indignity. You will go and stand and say, please, you will never give me. The mother will not teach her children to lie. You go and take your own. Tell them your father is not around. The child will use another name. Another will use another name. In Nigeria, when the people who are responsible for our poverty and our illiquidity are walking the roads free. Somebody said, I don't know whether it was in a video or something, but I heard it so yesterday. The person said he went to Ikoyi and saw one particular vehicle worth 100 million. Where he stood on that street, he saw 10 pass by. The man said, there's no poverty in Nigeria. It's just that the money didn't get to some people. So it means that standing one so 1 billion naira. You just walk, just pass in front of you. He said there's no poverty. And that as far as he was concerned, the money, not stolen money really, but that the money didn't. Yes, of course. But that the money just didn't get to some people that, as far as he was concerned, So, would you go and stand and say, my rubber, fill it now. You only put 2.5 cups. You didn't put 3 cups. How many cups are you putting? I said, you put your name and bread.
How long would that even last for?
What about the aged? And disabled? Do you know during COVID there was a group that designed a website and an app? Nigeria, like I said, we are sponsoring the corruption that is killing us. We are. There was a particular agency, NGO, just came up on its own, designed a website, designed an app and said, if you want food, just log in and fill your details. And they were going from house. They even went to places like Idiara, distributing food, free.
But you still need access to the internet.
Why can't
do that? One will still need access
to
the internet.
No, it is even okay. At least that can take off a particular class. Why can't government? So what has government done about it? Has our government even said, okay, how can we carry on with this sort of program, and how can we, build up on this? And they have not said the first thing about that.
Let's just lay everything bare and then wrap up this segment of the show. Jaga to lead Qatar Center election observation mission to Zimbabwe. Address forex challenges, other fiscal issues. Experts tell Edu. Bribery allegation heats up. Kano election petitions tribunal. Staff induced with 10 million naira. NBA demands identity of indicted lawyers. Kano government. APC trade words. All right, so these are the headlines from the Daily Trust. Cyril, I must say thank you to you for your analysis of the headlines that we've shared today. Well, that's it. That's it on the newspaper review segment. Up next on VOP this morning, the federal government set to disburse 5 billion naira in palliative funds to each of the 36 states of the federation. Details when we return.